Hi everyone, welcome back to Quick Resume, episode 13, post E3, post hype. My name is Deck.
Oh, my name is Tim.
And this is a really special episode. I mean, not only because we've just finished E3, but because this is the first time we've done this together.
In person.
And, I mean, maybe you can tell, who knows, but... I mean, you won't be able to tell, but I mean...
Yeah, but I'm sitting next to this handsome fellow.
Yeah, well, wow, likewise, man.
Yeah, because we all met up to watch E3 this year, us and a couple other mates, so... we're doing this in person. Obviously, it's just us two. The other people have left, but yes.
And just for the record, I highly recommend everybody do that from every year going forward.
Oh, it's fantastic. Always make we made like a really fun drinking game for all the announcements and stuff like that. We made the mistake of doing a shot every time something was on Games Pass, and
I don't know what we were thinking.
That was pretty awful. Most of the show was a blur. We had to watch it again the next day.
Yeah. It was... Yeah, I don't know why we thought that was a good idea, because I thought it'd be a good idea because it would be like, it's on Game Pass, it's pretty hype, but after the 11th shot, it just got a bit much.
Yeah, what was it, like 30 games shown, 27 on Games Pass?
Yeah.
So if we were playing the rules legit, we would have had to do 27 shots.
Yeah, because Sarah Bond came out at the beginning and she was like, we're going to show you 30 games, 27 of them are going to be on Games Pass, and we were like, what? 27?
We're dying today.
But I mean, we got through 2 whole bottles of shot juice.
Shot juice, yeah, undisclosed shot juice.
Yeah, like I'm not at the liberty to tell you what was in it.
It was a good thing we bought the weak stuff. To be fair, I don't think we'd be here today doing episode 13.
Yeah,
so
I mean, that was just good foresight. So there was that. I would recommend that. You know, we had a couple of other things like Phil Spencer appearing like with a Mincy shirt or something. Master Chief making an appearance. The rest of it was. Yeah. Because we had some easy stuff, we had some hard stuff, but by far the Games Pass announcements were... I mean, they were bonkers, but, yeah. I mean, maybe someone knew that was going to be our... those are the rules we were going to make.
Maybe someone slyly threw that in, yeah.
Yeah, I did post it online earlier, so...
But yeah, we also did like a bingo, which is really fun to do. That's non-drinking, but it's just, of what you kind of expect to see. And then, you sort of all pick different stuff and whoever hits bingo wins or whatever.
Yeah.
So we had some pretty cool stuff on there. I don't think any of us even got close to bingo. I think we got like 2.
I think like 2. You won with 2, I think.
Yeah, which was Starfield. I did count Starfield gameplay, to be fair. We'll move on to that. But yeah, so E3 was awesome. It's always better with friends rather than just fucking sitting in your room watching it by yourself. And yeah, the post E3 hype is pretty real. It was pretty good E3.
Yeah, it was, and I'm excited to talk about that as we go into the show. I guess we should, if we just start with our kind of overall impressions. Like, what were your kind of overall impressions? I guess as like of Xbox's and Bethesda's presence as a whole, like not. I guess that includes kind of the extended showcase as well, even though there wasn't a huge amount there, but still.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I think we discussed this on the day as well, didn't we? I think we both rated it like a solid 8.
Yeah.
Like a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't absolutely blow me away. But it was pretty cool. There was some stuff like it was nice to get like a name for that Typhoon teased game with all those emojis, which was Contraband. There was a lot of stuff where it was kind of just here's a CGI trailer again, and you don't really know what it is. Like there are a couple games like Contraband and Redfall as well. I genuinely had to look up to figure out what the genre of that game was. So like, don't get me wrong, they look cool, but it's hard to get crazy hyped, and it's obviously. They're miles off, so I can't be too harsh on the devs. The reason they do this is because the game release is miles off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was pretty solid, and I think if you compare it to the rest of E3 as well, I do think Xbox, unpopular
saved
opinion,
the show.
Yeah, Xbox did have by far the best presence at E3 this year, I think, and that's not even me being biased. I'm sure some Nintendo fanboys would disagree with me.
Yeah.
There were some pretty cool announcements in Nintendo's, don't get me wrong, but I think Xbox's presence at E3 was pretty strong this year.
I think it's quite interesting seeing the wider sort of reception to the Xbox show, because like a lot of the wider community has received the showcase better than like Xbox fans did, and I think that's just kind of the price you pay for following the stuff a bit closer. Is that like we knew there was going to be like Contraband, we knew Redfall was going to be there, you know, we expected a multiplayer reveal, whereas like a lot of like I said, the wider like gaming media thought that show was fucking knockout, like S tier, you know, A+ tier, and I thought it was good. I'd probably give it like A-, but I was expecting 2 game announcements, and I wasn't expecting gameplay, but I was a bit disappointed to see that Contraband and Redfall, even though they're both kind of hype, you know, for us anyway, you know, they're like co-op heist. One of them's co-op like a heist game, one of them's like an immersive open world shooter from Arkanes. Yeah, that could not have been a better announcement for me. But yeah, not to see gameplay for either of them is a bit bleh, despite them being cool announcements. So I think, yeah, in terms of like the actual show, if you're an outsider and you're just like, oh, let's watch E3, you don't particularly follow anyone, you know, maybe you dabble in Nintendo or you have a PlayStation, whatever, you watch that as an outsider, I can understand. I feel like that is a 10 out of 10 show. Like in terms of the format, back-to-back games, there was loads of gameplay in the showcase. Maybe not from like the new first-party announcements, from that tiny sliver. But when we're thinking about, you know, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, we're thinking about Halo, Psychonauts, loads of other stuff as well. Hades, all of this stuff, Back 4 Blood, showed gameplay. Sea of Thieves, I mean, I know it's already announced game, but still, I can see in terms of that. But in terms of like the Xbox first party content and how that was showcased, I would probably give that like a 7 or an 8. So and put that together, I think that's how in my head I get to the final score of sort of 8 out of 10.
Yeah. And yeah, there was some shocks in there. I mean, I guess just to open it up, right off the bat was Starfield in-engine gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Yeah, you have to kind of classify it as in-engine, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was quite shocked about that. I mean, I know we talked about this in previous episode. You were basically just expecting to see a trailer, you know, like, or like this is what it is, and then maybe a few snippets of things as they like zoom out over a galaxy or something like that, you know. But we actually genuinely saw some pretty, you know, decent amount of in-game footage of them actually like walking around, you know, inside a ship. We saw like weapons and everything, so we know obviously combat's a thing and stuff like that. It's not, you know,
it's not like a pure sim game or something like that. Yeah, it's not like an Elite Dangerous or something.
Yeah, it's not like a more sort of accessible Elite Dangerous, which it did kind of give off those sort of vibes, like maybe a dumbed down Elite Dangerous and stuff like that. So it's nice to know that sort of stuff is confirmed, and I was just very shocked to actually see that much, to be honest. And it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
It looked great.
And I guess that's maybe one of the things that works in the other direction, that as an outsider who's heard about Starfield for years now, you would have expected to see like quite a big showcase. But for us, we knew going in that we weren't really expecting that, just because of sort of how little we've heard about it. Like that was kind of our expectation level. Yeah, and they did like an interview afterwards, and they said, I think Todd was saying like, oh, it's going to be like a super hardcore, like it's leaning more into the RPG elements than the other games they've done. So I'm assuming more like character building, you know, like not class selection, but you know, things like that. You choose stuff at the beginning of the game and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And it was like nothing short of a power move to bring out Todd Howard as the first thing to open your conference.
God Howard, yeah.
And actually, I've got to say they did a really good job of like cementing the idea in people's heads that Xbox and Bethesda are together.
Oh god, they repeated it so many times.
Yeah.
Starfield, as I've said before, only on Xbox.
Yeah.
You know, Bethesda, Xbox, Bethesda. You know, they're really driving it home. Yeah. I think they're just trying to soften the blow for the gaming community. When when Elder Scrolls finally says Xbox exclusive, maybe there won't be riots.
Maybe, who knows?
Just soften the blow slightly.
Yeah, but there's been a bit of controversy about that because Pete Hines, you know, the guy who came out when he was wearing the Redfall shirt, Bite Back.
Yes.
He's the what even is he? He's like the community manager or something. Anyway, he's really good. But he had like an interview afterwards, and he was like, somebody asked him about like, oh yeah, what do you have to say to fans of Bethesda games who are on PlayStation, and he was obviously it puts you in a bit of a tricky position, and he was like, well, you know, I'm sorry that you won't be able to play our games, essentially. You know, they are there. Xbox is a very accessible platform. But, yeah, sorry, essentially. And a lot of people got their knickers in a twist because they were like, you shouldn't have to apologise for exclusivity. Where are people, you know, apologising to me about God of War and Ratchet and Clank? And it's like, well...
It's just being civilised, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're all gamers.
Yeah, exactly.
Business is business, but you still don't like just cutting people off.
Yeah, he was just being empathetic.
Yeah. They're devs and stuff like that, you know. They want everyone to play their games. Yeah. They put their heart and soul into this sort of stuff. So, you know, you got to break the news to people who... you know, might need to do it. But yeah, like you said, it's a very accessible platform, far more accessible than the likes of PlayStation. I mean, you can play all this on Games Pass on PC.
Games Pass, PC, cloud. Like, you know, just before E3, there was, I don't know if you saw it, there was like a couple of articles that went up about Xbox's like next step with xCloud about getting apps on TVs, like having a streaming stick. So like that's been like rumoured for a while. So like, that's going to be happening in the next year. Like soon you'll be able to literally boot up your TV and stream Starfield to it.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be through you'll need a subscription to Games Pass, I assume. Or Games Pass Ultimate, that's how they're doing it at the moment anyway. But, like, that's so accessible. You know, it's £10 a month. Just literally tenner down, you can play Starfield in the month, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's so accessible. You don't have to drop £500 on a console. So...
It was weird to hear that for like so many of the games. It was just like, yeah, it's coming to Series X, you know, PC, and your Android device. And
yeah,
it's just like what? Like, how's that on my phone?
Yeah, the all-powerful Nokia.
Yeah, it's still weird to see, but yeah, I mean, it's so accessible. It's crazy. But yeah, no, that was a really, really strong opening with Starfield, and yeah, with the recent. Acquisition of Bethesda opening up with this massive project they've been working on for so long is
25 years.
It's a big deal, and it's nice to know it's real.
It is real.
Like we talked about
really
screenshot for 30 minutes, but now we've actually got gameplay. Not gameplay, in-engine footage, but it looks great. Again, it's hard to talk too much about it. I mean, I guess we could also say, you know, it looks like it will be the end of 2022, the release, November 22.
Yeah, that's right.
From what was on his console when he was tapping away, ready to launch his shit.
Was it next gen only?
I
think it was.
I can't remember. I actually don't know. That's probably worth a quick Google on our behalf.
I really think
fact check that.
Yeah, I really think it was, because I remember being quite surprised at the amount of games that Xbox announced that were just for Series S and X.
Yeah,
today.
I know things like Contraband and Redfall were X and S only. And stuff like that. But I'm not sure about Starfield, to be honest.
Well, because it would make sense to me, because if like Redfall is Series S and X only, and that's next year, they've said coming 20. They obviously didn't give a time.
Yeah.
Then Starfield definitely will be. Yeah, Xbox Series S and X and PC. Wicked.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty cool.
And that's like the sort of game that. I'm just so buzzed about that game, man.
Yeah,
it's the sort of game that's going to be like, that really takes advantage of the software or hardware. Sorry,
it's kind of that game you know, people like. Sure, we've had a lot of space RPGs in the past, but it's kind of that game that will scratch that ultimate itch for people who like that. In theory, because it will have the power and the capabilities to just be so expansive. Yeah, whereas stuff like Mass Effect and what was the other one I was just thinking about? I can't remember.
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. I guess like that. They're all kind of gated by technology. There's only so big you can make it. There's only so much you can get in there. But yeah, this in theory will you know, really break down those walls and allow you to just be the fucking space pioneer you've always wanted to be.
Be the boy. Yeah. I like, because it is giving off those kind of. We've spoken about it before, but it's giving off those kind of. I guess like. Space Fallout plus No Man's Sky combined. Those are the vibes I'm getting from it.
Yeah.
And you can imagine like what a Bethesda No Man's Sky would look like. You know, they have loads of environmental storytelling. Obviously, we saw guns. There's going to be heavy RPG elements. None of those things kind of exist in No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But then you also have that thing of like going to a new planet. What the fuck's going on here? And then they released some of those screenshots after, didn't they? Did you see them? There was like one of them was like a over the water like city.
Yeah.
And there were like loads of different, just very varied environments, and that's like Bethesda are just really good at that. And I just think that they can lean really heavily into the stuff they're really good at with Starfield.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of know what you're getting with Bethesda a lot. With you're not going to get 10 out of 10 combat, are you?
Probably not, but they don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. It will be passable. It will be serviceable. And I'm sure they'll make a lot of improvements over their previous games. But yeah, I mean, they've never been one for excellent combat, have they?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the criticisms that people levy against Skyrim. But I mean, I said to you when I was playing Fallout, and you can hear me talking about this in episodes like 1, 2, 3, and 4 of our podcast. Like when I was playing it, the shooting is actually quite good in Fallout 4.
Yeah,
and I don't see why I feel like now that they're part of the Xbox family, and yeah, they've got id anyway. They're some of the best on the fucking market of shooters. They really should be using that. But Fallout 4 did feel good, so my hopes are high that it'll only feel better. Especially because they announced as well that all of their games, Bethesda Game Studios, are usually on the Creation Engine, like dating back to Oblivion. Even on Morrowind, I think it was as well. Fallout, they were on the Creation Engine. They said this is the Creation Engine 2. So it's literally like they've put enough work in it to do, give it its own sort of big upgrade. So hopefully that will affect how the combat feels.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it would definitely feel nicer and smoother than previous games. But what I'm saying is, I just think
you don't play it for the combat, do you?
Yeah, you're never going to get that amazing, crispy, I don't know, like Call of Duty feel, or Doom feel, or anything like that. But yeah, they excel in so many other areas, and this really does give them a canvas to excel in those areas.
Yeah, they're just good at RPG shit, man. Like like Skyrim, the skill trees, like all of them, they're so good.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see what kind of like skill trees Starfield will have.
Work,
like, I'm just like sort of trying to figure out how that might work.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's one of those things that would definitely be exciting to see.
Yeah.
Sick. So I mean, yeah, that was kind of opening the show with Starfield, and like we said, really, I think they did a really good job of making us remember that Xbox is now part of Bethesda. It makes me wonder if next year it's just going to be back to Xbox Showcase, unless Bethesda are wanting to sort of keep their own identity. But I mean, it makes it. I think they did a good enough job to cement it in people's head that they are one and the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, they put an end to all the speculation, the endless tirade of speculation around whether or not Starfield and any other Bethesda games would be exclusive, even though Phil was pretty much went on the record, like around the acquisition time, saying the games will be exclusive to platforms with Games Pass. So
it was just false hope from everyone else, I think, hoping that Bethesda would still come to other platforms.
But it's still happening a bit though. It's still people are saying because these are new IPs, therefore they don't count. So like Starfield and Redfall,
maybe.
But the argument before this was that Starfield had been in development so long on both platforms that they wouldn't just throw that progress away. So like I don't really feel like the new IP thing applies to that. It's like they're more than willing to toss away the PlayStation development.
Yeah, exactly. Because
they lock it into the ecosystem.
Yeah, because let's be honest, they've been working on that for so long. They definitely were using PlayStation tech stacks. They were absolutely building that for both. And then we were just like, here's 7.5 billion, and they were like, cool, buy PlayStation.
Control Alt Delete.
Yeah, exactly. Like that game was definitely being made with both in mind. And yeah, if that was canon, Elder Scrolls will be. I'll eat my fucking legs if it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been quite confident that Elder Scrolls would be. I've gone back and forth on it a few times, but I was quite confident that Elder Scrolls would be. The only ones I thought that might not be is something like Wolfenstein 3. But if they're giving it a big break, we didn't even hear anything about Wolfenstein this year, so I reckon, because their Machine Games are the ones who make them, and they're making the Indiana Jones game. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're prioritising that, because obviously that's in collaboration with Disney. So we might not see Wolfenstein 3 for a while, and if that's the case, I think they just might be like it's out of, like, people aren't really remembering Wolfenstein, let's just make this one exclusive.
Yeah.
It's not like it's, in the last 5 years.
Plus, I never even played I haven't played and completed 2, so I don't know if it left on a cliffhanger or if they were just... I don't actually know.
No, neither do I.
So
Games Pass now, though.
Yeah, which I've
already downloaded it.
I probably will get around to playing because I did really enjoy the first one. But yeah, there was quite a few stuff added to Games Pass. Was that prior to E3 or was that like after?
It was as part of it. They very quickly went over some announcements.
Yeah, because like Evil Within 2 got on there as well. Yeah. There was some other stuff.
Fallout 3 was too.
But yeah, no, that was pretty cool, and it was nice. I know we touched on it earlier as well to really see the transition. So many games were just Series X and S exclusive.
Yeah,
it was pretty clear that we're making that leap. Unlike PlayStation.
Well,
yeah, shots fired.
Well, yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, we're definitely moving away. This was a showcase. It was basically saying like, you might want to start buying this hardware because
if you can find it.
Yeah, if you can find it, on the rare corners of the earth. Because a lot of this stuff is not coming to older hardware, which is fine. Eventually, you have to transition. These consoles have been out for ages, and
well, they were like very straightforward with this. They were like, about 2 years is going to be our cross-gen. 1 to 2 years is going to be our cross-gen time window. And obviously, we all know the internet fucking kicked off because they were like, "Oh, what? 2 years have been held back by the Xbox One." And then obviously it's funny because on the Sony side they were like, "Oh, we believe in generations, etc., etc." And then since then have announced that Miles Morales would be cross-gen. What's the other one? Horizon is going to be cross-gen. God of War is probably going to be cross-gen. That's what they said. And so that makes the only real exclusive games, which was like Destruction All Stars, which was that multiplayer online driving arena thing that nobody cared about. Demon Souls and Returnal. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, well, it's not. Ratchet and Clank, sorry, and that is a big fucking whopper. And Returnal looked cool as well, so I'm not going to try and downplay that. That is cool. Yeah. But then recently there's been news of Godfall, which was obviously I totally forgot about that. Godfall being like, that was like one of their games that was like, oh, look at this visual showcase for the PS5, can't be done on PS4. Yeah, they actually, just kidding, it's coming to PS4.
Yeah, they actually came out and when they were releasing it said it can't be done on PlayStation 4. I don't care if you guys are sobbing. And then they're just like, actually we lied. We like the money. Yeah. So
game didn't sell that well.
So that's coming to PS4. There was I don't know, and there's whispers that Demon Souls is having some fucking a little bit of background noise in that regard as well.
Yeah.
It's just pretty dishonest from PlayStation and not very cool if they start doing that sort of thing. But
yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It's just that thing that Xbox took a lot of heat for it for a while because they're like, oh, I don't want my... And then the thing is, it's funny because obviously you can tell it was just all overblown because Horizon's coming out cross-gen and that game looks fucking stunning. And Horizon's also coming out... Forza Horizon 5 is also coming out cross-gen at the end of this year. And that looks stunning as well. So like this whole thing about old games, like maybe in terms of the scope and like what you build the game for from the ground up, that can maybe be impacted. But the game will still you can make it look amazing even if it is cross-gen, I guess it depends. It's a case-by-case basis, I imagine. But, these games are all cross-gen. They look amazing. So it's just well overblown,
Yeah.
And Halo as well. The Halo looks really good as cross-gen too.
Yeah, and even going back and enhancing games that came out before as well for your Series X and stuff like that. There are some games that came out on Xbox One. I mean, we were looking at the Metro Exodus, and that's
enhancement.
Game. Yeah, and that's insane. Like that genuinely looks like it was built from the ground up on a Series X. Like, it looks absolutely ridiculous. So they can, whether or not they release on both or whether or not you enhance from previous and stuff like that, they still can look really good. So I'm not pretty flaming PlayStation for it, but it's the fact that they come out and say
the dishonesty.
This is PS5, and they're just like, look at their fucking charts, and they're like, actually, no, let's get this on PS4 as well because we need the money.
It is weird that they seem to make a lot of like their PR is just all over the place. They like seem to do things to like try and fan the console war. It's like their PR team doesn't speak to like the manufacturing team because they just say the shit that people want to hear, and then sometimes it doesn't match up, and then it blows back in their face. Arguably, I know I don't, But yeah, so that has definitely been a problem. But the cross-gen games all look good, so we're all winners.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially.
Yeah, let's start moving on to more things that happened at E3.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think obviously the big thing straight after Starfield was S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, and I mean, this was kind of quite a big deal because it was like, again, this is one of like the hefty pieces of gameplay. I think S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is a timed exclusive. I don't know how long it's timed for.
Yeah.
And it's going straight to Games Pass, which is nuts, in April 2022. What do you think of S.T.A.L.K.E.R?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played the first one, so I don't really
PC,
have...
isn't it?
Yeah, it was PC. Yeah, it was a bit of a cult classic from what I hear and stuff like that. People did really like it.
I think there's been two actually.
I
think there's been. I know this one's S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, but I think there's been like
a spin-off.
Something like that. Maybe a smaller game. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it looked pretty bloody amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it definitely looked amazing. Like visually, that game was absolutely fucking stunning. That was crazy. Some of the visuals I saw in there.
Yeah.
Like when that alien was like pulled up and exploded and stuff like that. All the particle effects around him. And like the electricity from that tower and stuff like that. That game looked insane. And that was definitely Series X and S exclusive. Yeah, because there's no way you can get something like that to run on a previous gen.
As early as 2022 really is when we're going to start seeing that happen.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it looked awesome. It had very Metro vibes, which makes sense because a lot of it's not from the same developers, but it's just from people who worked on it. Is it from the same developers?
I don't think so. No, it's just it.
I think a lot of people that worked on Metro are working on it, or is it just same engine?
I don't know. I don't think it's the same engine or anything. I think Metro is like explicitly influenced by S.T.A.L.K.E.R.
Oh,
I think Metro is like
right.
Polish, isn't it? And this is obviously like, was it Ukrainian?
Yeah,
S.T.A.L.K.E.R?
or Russian? Is it Russian?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it looked amazing. It looked really cool. Definitely that sort of slow style shooter. Quite clunky. Well, I say clunky, but it's just the movements are the movements are very exaggerated, and it's very heavy. It's not like a crisp, twitchy shooter like Call of Duty or anything like that. And yeah, I thought it looked amazing. It definitely has a lot of potential. Just sort of going into like a wasteland and being hunted while you're hunting for this material or whatever and stuff like that. I'm not really sure what that material does. I mean, it's almost like
it's just like valuable.
Yeah, and like maybe use it to enhance equipment and stuff like that. And it's almost like it's quite roguelike in that regard.
It does look a little bit, yeah.
You go in, you get your stuff, you come out, you upgrade, you go in again, sort of thing.
In my head that's what it's like, but it could just be sort of story based. It could just be linear.
I'm sure. But yeah, no, I thought it looked really, really cool.
Yeah, I was happy to see more of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. I was happy because it was kind of we obviously saw a CGI reveal last year, didn't we? It was one of the many CGI reveals that we got last year, and it's like, okay, cool. I didn't know there was a S.T.A.L.K.E.R 1. Obviously now I know a bit more about it, having had a year to learn a bit more about it. But yeah, it was nice to see that. It was
definitely
lovely.
It was it was really good to see some gameplay of it, and a lot of gameplay too.
Yeah.
It was a pretty hefty amount. And yeah, it's just nice to know, just put some gameplay to the title card for those sort of things.
Yeah.
And now I can get quite excited for it because it does look pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And again, April 22 is really not that far away, and that game looks insane.
Yeah. That'll be a lovely little graphical showcase.
Yeah. Well, that will.
There's a few. I mean, there literally is quite a lot coming out in the next sort of 8 months that are graphically looking like a big step up.
Yeah,
from what we've had.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, no, I thought that looked really good. What were your sort of vibes for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2?
Yeah, I thought it looked really good. I'm a big fan of the big chunk of gameplay they showed. Yeah. I'm excited that it's obviously coming to Game Pass as well, because I'm an R a little bit if it wasn't, but yeah, I'll definitely see how it goes. And it just looks interesting story wise as well.
Yeah, 100%.
We had as well, still at sort of the beginning of the show, we had Back for Blood straight into Games Pass. That was a new announcement, which was pretty nice. I think that was maybe October as well.
Yes, yeah, October.
Game looks like it could be pretty cool. It looks still a bit rough around the edges, but I think it looks fun.
Yeah, I think that game's got, your sort of your mid 70s written all over it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to blow you away, but I do. That is without a doubt going to be very fun to hop in and play with your mates.
Yeah.
And
there was the PvP mode as well, wasn't there?
There was,
the monster
which was cool.
Which is always a bit of fun.
Yeah, I actually I kind of respected that a lot. I thought that looked quite cool and quite fun.
Yeah, you don't get that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, no, it definitely looks pretty cool. The more I had a moment where like every time I saw that game, I thought it kind of looked worse and worse. But with the last couple trailers, I feel like it's actually kind of flipped around for me. I kind of feel like it looks better and better now. Each time I kind of see it.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I've now just set my expectations to not be too high. Like before, I was just like, "Oh, this better be the Left 4 Dead, but more that I've always wanted."
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, it's got that formula. It's a bit rough around the edges, but it looks fucking fun. And I think with that bar being naturally a bit lower now, I'm just more accepting to it.
But I mean, it's Turtle Rock. You love Turtle Rock.
I do love Turtle Rock. Bring back Evolve. Give it to me.
That's the campaign. #, bring back Evolve.
Yeah. This PvP game mode will basically be my new Evolve.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
There you go. It's done.
We had Sea of Thieves: A Pirate's Life. That was such a fun fucking announcement. I don't know how they managed to keep that under wraps. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
And I will say as well, because they obviously did a little extra gameplay trailer on the extended showcase a few days later, and they're doing like another showcase this Sunday coming. Or this Sunday gone, depending whenever we upload this. So there's lots to show, and there was a lot in it, other than obviously the fun stuff of Captain Jack and
this Squidman. Was it Davy
Jones?
Barbosa? Or something? Oh, Barbosa. I think it might be Barbosa. Captain Barbosa.
And there's a few characters just straight licensed out the film, like even the lady like doing the narration. All of that, yeah. So that was just so fun. Again, like as an outsider, if you watch that, you're like, "What the fuck? This is awesome! I need to give this a go." And there was a lot of content in there as well. Like there were like 3 new enemy types at least. One of them could like board your ship. Yeah, all that stuff is cool. It's been much needed in Sea of Thieves for quite a while.
Yeah. A couple of new bosses as well. Obviously, you saw Bob. Well, we think it might be Barbosa and his ship and stuff like that for some sea combat. Yeah. And then you also saw the giant squid thing that was like a pet for someone.
Yeah,
she called that in, and that looked like it would be its own like boss fight as well.
Yeah. I wonder if it's just like a Tall Tale or like a series of it's like its own standalone.
I think it will be like a series of Tall Tales.
Yeah, I think
like
so
it'll be like 3 or 4 chapters.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will definitely be quite interesting, and I imagine that there'll be like roaming as well. Like maybe when you finish the Tall Tale, you can stumble across the Black Pearl as like a roaming enemy.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a Megalodon or like a Kraken or something like that. But yeah, that definitely came out of nowhere. Just like super fun. I'm sure a lot of people have tried to role play these exact scenarios in Sea of Thieves already.
Oh yeah.
And now they're just giving it to you in the form of a story and actual characters and we're big Sea of Thieves fans, and we're definitely going to hop on that and play it. And it's coming out in like a week as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
like less than a week. It's like a few days now.
Yeah. There's another thing. Yeah, another thing I didn't say actually at the beginning. Yeah, that's another thing about the show they did really well. There was none of this showing stuff that's years out. Like the latest we saw for anything was late 22 with Starfield. Yeah, that was like the bookend of the show. Everything else was before that.
Yeah, like 75% of it was like October or before.
Yeah,
and then you had your a couple of 22 releases and stuff like that, and then a couple that didn't even commit to a release window like Contraband. But
yeah,
but yeah, no, that Sea of Thieves thing just looks fucking fun, man.
Yeah,
it looks really really fun. And I'm really excited to dip in and play that, to be honest.
Yeah. So, other than that, the Project Typhoon was the next thing that came up, and that was obviously that was Contraband, and it did it was in partnership with Avalanche Games. So what we've spoken about before in previous episodes was accurate, thanks to all the lovely insiders giving us little teasers. And it was actually a bit of a banger of a trailer, regardless of the fact that we didn't really see much or get an idea of what the game is. But it was like a co-op heist game. That's what was kind of the trailer gave to us, that it was a co-op heist game. I think heist games are fucking awesome. We don't have enough of them. because we used to play Payday back in the day, but then the devs shot themselves in the foot and decided
it
became toxic. So yeah, that was a bit I haven't played. But did they make a Payday 3? They haven't made a Payday 3 yet.
No.
They just stopped supporting Payday 2 on consoles for some reason. And yeah, there seems to be, I think, there was an article that went up by Windows Central, and Jez Corlin said it was like leaning into a lot of vehicular combat, and that you can, like, shooting is a thing, but it's used as like a last resort, because you don't want to damage presumably the goods that you're carrying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like PvPvE. Like there's other people in the game trying to steal it, but
everyone going for the same loot pool, all fighting for it or something.
Yeah.
If
you watch the trailer as well, there's like a couple of maps you see where there's like been routes planned out and stuff. So I don't know if there's like an element of like strategy to it as well, and almost a bit like in Rainbow Six Siege where it like pulls out and you see the whole map and you see your spawn point, like kind of like that, and you like draw a line of like, right, this is where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And like, do you have a car each, or do you like all get in the same car, or like do you take it to someone else and then you swap the loot over and get it out? Like, I don't know. I think it's very unique. We spoke about this because we said, like, you know, allegedly a lot of the teasers were saying it was its own thing, and like it does sound very unique. So I mean, you know, hats off to them. Hopefully they can pull it off. It's hard to go for something like trying to expand that co-op shared world genre is quite difficult.
Yeah,
because it's just dominated by looter shooters essentially.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's quite ballsy to sort of enter that genre with something new, and it's really hard to really. We could sit here and speculate what it's going to be all day.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't know enough about it to get too excited.
All we know is it's heist based, and there's a focus on vehicle combat.
Yeah.
Probably more so than boots on ground, you know, or anything like that. So,
but it's also like a 70s game, so it's not like it's not like Mad Max where you like have shit attached to your, like, all sorts of crazy shit on your car. That doesn't make sense. So that's what makes me think, like, you know, do you just have boys in the back seat with guns, or like maybe you get a turret attached to the back? Like, what are the other elements of that? But it's there. Yeah, there wasn't enough to go by to get like really excited, but I'm into the idea. I'm really into like the idea of it, and it's just like Xbox have like always been really good at like pushing and making like co-op and multiplayer games. It's the reason I stick with the platform really over everything else. And you know, we just like, even in that conference we had Contraband and Redfall, like 2 new co-op games. I'm like, fuck yeah, and I think Redfall, they were a bit more specific in saying you can play the single player, but I feel like kind of Contraband, they described it as a co-op game.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but that's just sick to me, man. First party stuff like that, you don't see AAA first party co-op games. That's just not a thing, really.
No, you definitely wouldn't see it on PlayStation.
No.
It's definitely the reason. Yeah, we stuck with Xbox, and you know have been on Xbox ever since. And I talk to people who own PlayStations and stuff like that, and they say the same thing. Like they always say, like, if I had friends to play with, and if I was a bit more multiplayer focused, I'd get an Xbox. But you know, I don't do that sort of thing. I'm a kind of a single player sort of gamer, and it makes sense if you're that type of player to have a PlayStation, because they do excel a little bit more in that regard than Xbox. But we're absolutely social gamers. I mean, we love the idea of a co-op game. Or just multiplayer games in general.
And this is what I've said before, but this is like, it's just again leaning into that kind of like Game Pass element of it. They must have a number of metrics that they have access to, and they must be seeing that, like, when one person goes on a co-op game, like a group of people tend to go on these co-op games together on Games Pass, because you know it can be a pain, like convincing a group of friends to like dump a certain amount of money. Like, 'cause if one of you's on the fence about it, or maybe one of you's in a less viable financial position, or you know,
it just turns one download into 4, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And it's just it removes that kind of guilt element, you know, around, you know, it's something like buyer's remorse. Like, you buy it because your friends bought it, and then you're like, actually, I'm not too hot on this,
which we've all had.
Yeah, which we've all had, exactly. And so, like, I just think it's kind of a perfect combination. I'm not surprised they're making. It's not like they're making excessive co-op games. We know there's loads of single player games on the horizon. You know, Perfect Dark, Fable, Avowed. You know, the list goes on and on, but yeah, I'm just impressed with that the way they're leaning with that. But, that's cool. There was some more Game Pass stuff. We had things like Yakuza Like a Dragon. We saw the first... we saw Somerville for the first time, which was one of the developers of Playdead, who made Inside and Limbo. We saw that... I think... What else was it? Party Animals, which kind of looked like Gang Beasts, but with animals and a bit...
That looked fun.
That did look fun. We saw some more gameplay of 12 minutes. I think we got release date as well, which we didn't have before. Which is
that's the James McAvoy one, isn't it?
James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and William Dafoe. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how the fuck they swung that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mad.
Because I think the publisher is Annapurna. I think it is. And they're a film publisher first, and they've just moved into games now. And I've said before, Annapurna, I really like all their stuff. They're really good as a publisher. At least the stuff that they put out. And it looks really interesting and really cool. So yeah, I mean, all of that, all of that's obviously Games Pass, so can't complain about any of that. Mm-hmm. We saw some Battlefield 2042 as well. Big gameplay showcase.
Yeah,
as we predicted. What did you
think Battlefield 2042 deck?
Yeah, I think it looks cool. I think it looks very cool. I think a lot of people are quite impressed with how it looks. It was cross-gen as well, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because there's been some questioning about how they're going to handle these really big lobbies on Xbox One, and if I imagine that's going to be running on 500p, 480p. Yeah, it looks very cool. I haven't played a Battlefield game in bloody ages, but and it doesn't particularly look like it's doing anything hugely new. I think the weather effects are. But it's just more of what they already did, in 2042, and that's kind of okay with me as someone who hasn't played Battlefield much. I'm kind of okay with that. Yeah, it looks good. It looks like an absolute blast with friends. So they are going to have to find a way to justify in the coming months the £70 or £60, $70 price tag. I think. There's got to be a lot of maps. There's got to be a lot of customization, a lot of progression, this, that, and the other. I don't want to fucking see a battle pass. I'm usually a battle pass apologist. I think they're fine. I think they work well. I think they're the healthiest balance we found between the freemium microtransactions and the paid model. But they can't have that. If they're going to charge full price, they need to be really skirt that line really carefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. I think we're our friends are looking to sort of maybe get that as the time approaches if it can keep up its momentum, because it looks really good.
Yeah, it's just bigger and better, isn't it? It's not doing anything too new, as you said, but it just looks really bloody fun and really chaotic and really just awesome, and it will look great as well. It'll be a nice graphical showcase, the whole battle pass thing. They definitely shouldn't have something like that. It's very risky to play with a full price game. I think they could sweeten the deal if they say, all future added content, whether it be new vehicles or new maps or new guns, that should all be free. I feel if you're dropping a pretty full price tag on it, just free future updates. Because you got some amazing free to play multiplayer shooters, and Infinite also being one, Halo Infinite. And it's very competitive, and I think it's justify that £65 price tag. I don't think it's too much to say future content updates are going to be free. I think games do that anyway, right? So I think that could sweeten the pot a little bit. But the way it's looking, and sort of having a blast with my mates and playing that with my friends and stuff like that, I'm not too fast dropping a price tag on that right now. But
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. As we move closer to October, I'm going to be looking at the things that are coming. It's for the next month, that's free. There's Halo, maybe the month after that, that's free. And I'm just kind of do I need to spend that much money when I know there's other games going to be competing for my attention at that time? Whereas I just wouldn't have that remorse if it was free, And it's just that's kind of the problem with multiplayer games, because they're such time sinks. So, I mean, we'll see. I think a lot of people are impressed with what they've seen, and they want to be sold on the price tag, to be honest. They're looking to be sold on it. Yeah. But it is... it's hard. I think... I don't inherently have a problem with just multiplayer games. I think that's a really cool idea, because it pushes the idea of the amount of budget and the amount of stuff that goes into the game. And you can tell, because the game looks ridiculous. The amount of tech that's obviously, going on there. That's a full budget.
Yeah.
but they need to sort of be able to convince the public that the free-to-play model isn't the only way to do multiplayer games at the moment, because it's just, by comparison, people are going to look at the market and be like, well, there's so many free games I could play here that are going to give me that they're going to scratch the same itch, maybe, so who knows.
People are going to be watching it with an eagle's eye, aren't they? See, like how many maps?
Yeah, exactly.
How many guns do you have? How many, equipment, all this sort of stuff. People are going to be watching that very closely. That game's going to be constantly getting weighed up with value and whether or not I should buy it or not. So they do have a tough road ahead of them, but right now it looks pretty bloody cool.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to move on to as well was Psychonauts 2. We did see it. We got a new trailer for Psychonauts 2, and then there was quite a good little breakdown from Tim Schafer in the extended showcase as well. Thoughts on our new sort of bits and bobs of Psychonauts 2?
I am loving the look of Psychonauts 2. And if you go back to previous episodes, you'll see me very lukewarm on that game.
Yeah.
Going back some months. I'm just like, yeah, it's a platformer. Sure, it looks quite wacky. I'll probably play it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've seen the extended showcase and the trailer and more on it. Every time I see that game, it looks more and more fucking awesome to me.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's gonna, for me, it's not that sort of it's on my list, 9 out of 10 must have sort of game. But yeah, I don't know. It looks really fun and just looks really creative and cool.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of those games where, as you're playing it, you'll just be like, "What am I seeing right now? This is so cool and awesome."
Yeah.
They're really, you can tell the devs they're just having fun with it. They can do whatever they want with it. They can be as wacky as they want, and it's pretty clear that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it looks crisp, man. The environments look amazing. The
really
lighting
good,
looks so good. And it just looks crispy.
A lot of the combat look fun as well. All those different psychic powers.
The jumping, the combat, it all just looks nice and crisp. It doesn't look... it doesn't look janky or anything. The more and more I see that game, the more and more I like it. And I'm actually really looking forward to playing it now.
I think that, hopefully, because like we said before, Psychonauts 1 was a bit of a cult classic. I do want to kind of go back and play it. It's just not a priority on my backlog at the moment. But it's cult classic because it didn't sell a huge amount, but its critical reception was really good. Like I said before, it's somewhere in the 80, 89 or 90 range on Metacritic. I can't remember. And I think, with this one, getting the budget that it has, looking as clean as it does, going straight to Games Pass, I think they might double fine. This might be, I don't want to call it their breakout hit, because they're critically a very good studio, but commercially it could be a big breakout for them. I'm dead excited to see more. I think that game's going to be... I think it's going to be really good, and it's only enhanced on Series S and X. It's going to PS4, and that's how you play it on PS5.
Oh, I see.
So you download the Xbox version.
It's not getting an enhancement treatment for PS5.
Exactly. So it is going to be indisputably the best place to play on Xbox.
Yeah.
But you can still play on other platforms. But I know I'm in agreement with you. It looks better every time I see it, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks cool, and it doesn't look like too much of a commitment to my time either. You just sort of hop on. 8-9 hours later, you're probably seeing the credits or something. I don't really know how long those games tend to be, because it's not a full price shindig. How much is it if it goes onto PlayStation? Are they? Yeah,
no idea.
I would imagine it'd be somewhere around the 35 range or something.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't imagine it being a full price.
It has had a big budget increase since Double Fine got acquired, because they just pumped money into the game.
Yeah,
to help them, and they delayed it obviously time and time again to make it look as good as it does now.
Yeah,
but I don't know. But obviously not a problem for us because hashtag Games Pass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it looks awesome, and I'm really looking forward to playing that. Definitely.
We also had Hades coming to other platforms that isn't a Nintendo Switch, coming straight to Games Pass. I don't know if that was just an announcement just for Xbox. I don't know if there's now some timed exclusivity on Xbox as well. I really don't know, but at the very least, it's coming straight to Games Pass, which is really good because I think the hardcore crowd are going to really enjoy that as well.
I think I might hop back and play that. I've dumped so many hours into that game on my Switch. It's kind of scary. It's such a good game, and for anyone who hasn't played it, I could not recommend it more. I think it should have got Game of the Year last year, to be brutally honest. I know it was like a tie between that and a couple other things.
I think Last of Us 2 won in the end.
Yeah,
Hades 2 did take a lot of awards.
Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, on Games Pass, like anyone who hasn't played that, just whack it on download. It's so good.
It's a kind of the perfect game for quick resume.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And not just as a podcast, Rob. I mean that literally. Like, you know, you could just be playing something, you've got 15 minutes to spare, click on it, boom, start a run. You need to go, quick resume out. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas on the Switch, it's like a bit of pressure to finish the run you're doing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. Like, you can obviously pause it, but you don't want to...
Yeah, because you can pause the run itself. You can just press start and it comes up with your menu, resume, quit, run, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, then you can go and play something else with your mates and then just
resume
hop
back
onto that. Yeah, exactly. It kind of almost works as like a Switch, almost, in that regard. An undockable, an unportable Switch, sorry. But yeah, that was cool. You know, I've played it before and I'm still excited that's coming.
Yeah. That'll do really well. Just a good deal to strike. It's a perfect Games Pass game.
That'll get so many downloads, I think. I feel that game.
Yeah.
That game will be downloaded across the globe on Games Pass.
Absolutely. And then we had the big boy, Halo Infinite finally got its multiplayer reveal. We did get a little sort of campaign bit, which I don't feel people are speaking about enough because I thought it was really good. It actually, like maybe a little bit emotional watching it. Like, I was just, the music direction is just fucking perfect. Like, all the animations on Chief is really good. I think all of the bits and bobs they're doing with the story threads are like just really clever and really good because like. We've said it before, but like nobody envies being 343 on any aspect of the multiplayer design or the campaign design. It's hard to get it right with the franchise, which is Halo, and I just think it all looks really, really good. And John is sounding old, and I'm kind of it's because the voice actor is getting older, but whatever his name is, I can't remember, but. Yeah, it's also that campaign bit was sounding really, really good to me, and then the multiplayer. Thoughts?
Yeah, the multiplayer that me coming into that almost sounded like I was going to say something negative. The multiplayer looked amazing. It was the highlight of E3 for me, which I didn't think it would be. No. I thought with everything we were kind of expecting to see, I didn't think a multiplayer reveal for Halo would take the biscuit for me.
Yeah.
But it just looks so good, man. It looked like the perfect blend of just old school and new as well. Very, very Reachy vibes. You know, and then
the armor.
Yeah, and the armor looks so good. Yeah, thank you. My God, the armor looks good. I mean, we've this weekend with the hype of Halo, we've actually been playing some Halo 5 again. We played some Reach as well. Just the sort of games that would sort of encapsulate the most of what Halo Infinite would be.
And 2 Anniversary as well.
Yeah, and 2 Anniversary. And yeah, the armor in 5 is so poopy. I mean, for anyone who likes it, fucking fine. But it's just like 70% of the armor in Halo 5 is garbage, and it just looks weird.
It's just all over the place.
It just looks like they were trying way too hard. It's almost like they got the PS5 designer in to help with it.
Yeah,
it just looks weird.
Fuck, dude.
It's pretty good one, wasn't it?
I think it's because they were leaning into like that Promethean design language a little bit, which was a bit more angular and a bit more weird.
Yeah, I feel like so much of the armor in Halo 5 could look good. And then they just decided to stick more things on it.
Yeah.
It was just like a really cool chest piece. And they were like, I'll just stick like 8 grenades on his chest. Yeah. Now. It's just like, now it just looks weird.
And some pasta and some paper mache.
Yeah, get some macaroni on his shoulder.
Yeah.
But like, but yeah, so the armor was really cool. The gameplay looked sick. Loved all the equipment. I thought that looked really cool. Just sort of one-time use, outplay potential. Love that. Especially in a shooter with a TTK like Halo.
Yeah.
I think that'll work really, really well. Battle Pass, amazing. Love it. Like, it's a free multiplayer. Chuck that in. I'm happy for it. You can go between any Battle Pass you want in the future. So you don't miss out on any content. You can go back and level up previous ones.
I wonder if you can buy them retrospectively.
What do you mean?
Like, if you've missed Season 1 and you didn't buy the Battle Pass and it's now Season 2, can I go back and buy Season 1 Battle Pass?
Ooh, I don't know. I think you still have to buy at the time. I think it's just a case of
if you have it and don't finish it.
Yeah, exactly. For the people who did buy it with the intention of finishing it and then found out they couldn't, we all have adult things to do. Sometimes we can't just sit down and game all day.
Yeah.
They give you that option that you won't miss out on that content that you bought. You can go back and complete it whenever you want. But I still think you have to buy each one then and there. I think
I don't see the benefit of that.
That's not me knowing.
No. I know. I get what you're saying. The thing, because like a big thing that they like said and that people have been like happy about is that this new Battle Pass system like removes the FOMO, like the fear of missing out. For me, that's not necessarily that. Like for me, the thing that pisses me off is when it's too grindy and I've bought something and now can't have it.
Yeah,
I think that's really stupid. Like I don't like that idea at all, and so I feel like pressured to finish what I started to get my money's worth, even though I really shouldn't. But it's just it's just the psychological tactics of what a Battle Pass is. So, and I think it kind of undermines that a little bit. It's like, well, you have to. Okay, maybe you can't play much this month because you've got adult things to do. Well, you have to log in and just spend a tenner anyway now, and it's just like that kind of undermines it a little bit. It's like I don't see why you're going to get people's money if you're just able to go like Season 1, 2, 3. Look at all the shit you can get in them. Do you want to buy one retrospectively?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
It'll keep you playing either way.
They're not losing out on money, are they? At the end of the day, if it costs £10 and you buy it then, and then you're like,
maybe there's a sale
by season
in
3.
the season that would work as well.
Yeah,
like,
potentially.
If it's a tenner now for the season, it's 15 later. Like that's what they're going for because they want to incentivize you to play it, which makes sense.
Yeah. It definitely makes sense because Season 1 you didn't buy it, but Season 3. You're like, oh, I kind of fancy doing Season 1, but I never bought it. They're still getting the money out of you, regardless of if you bought it back then or bought it now.
Yeah.
So the model itself, it definitely should be like that. I just don't know if it is, and it makes sense. So now that I think about it, I would actually say that probably is how it works.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of stupid if it doesn't. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. It just undermines the whole idea of it. So don't feel too much time pressure.
It's flexibility.
We want you to buy it if you want to buy it and complete it at like your own pace. And
it's we'll take your money, but we'll be flexible about it as well.
Yeah,
they're not like take your money and then just start a fucking stopwatch.
Yeah,
you better get going.
That is literally how it feels. Like when I'm playing Apex, that is really how. There are times where I have it and I'm literally like, I want to play something else, but I'm like, but I need to do my dailies, and sometimes that can take like an hour. I'm like, well, now there's not enough time to boot up a single player game. Whereas if that wasn't the case, then I would just be chill about it. And it'd be like, yeah, there's cosmetics that I want to get, and I'll definitely work towards them when I have the time to sit down and play. But I don't want that to feel like it's eating into my time to do other stuff. Otherwise, I've wasted my money.
Yeah.
And I've seen stuff saying, and we spoke about this before, of like this is already having kind of reverberations into other shooters where people are saying, especially for Apex, people are saying they want this kind of system in other games. So I think this is really cool. I love it when we have like landmark moments like this in games. Well, I mean, maybe I'm being a bit preemptive, but when things happen and then other companies follow suit because it's just a good idea. And I'm not even just talking about monetization. Like when Apex came about, from a gameplay perspective, there was like respawns, like the whole jump master thing. All battle royales have now like got a respawn mechanic like in them to bring people back in. It's just you get things like that. So I'm hoping that it's as good as it sounds, and that if it is, other developers pick up on it, because you'll earn a lot of goodwill, and it probably won't hit your bottom line that much.
Yeah,
it's a bit more ethical if you ask me, but yeah.
So
I mean, in terms of the reveal, I agree, because we also had the little overview the day after, didn't we, as well?
And they kind of just talked a bit more about the trailer we saw, and we watched that trailer so many times. We dissected a lot of everything they said. Anyway,
I've seen it so many times. I think a lot of it is looking really cool. I'm loving the sort of equipment approach. I'm loving the new weapons that they're showing as well. That giant's, what was it called, the spiker?
The spear with the physics.
And they just like speared a warthog off the edge of the map, and then grapple jacked onto a wasp. That looks good. I'm just really excited about it, man. It's such a turnaround. I haven't seen like really any negativity other than like obvious trolls about Halo this year, which is so weird. I didn't
they've done the impossible, really. If you ask me, they turned people with that bit of campaign footage. There was like a very small like pan over the open world in game, just before they showed that, and again that looked beautiful.
Looks so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, just the overall look of everything looked far better, didn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just all the guns in hand and how everything looked. It looked so much better than when they showed it at the previous E3. So they've definitely, they've definitely taken that to heart and
made the most
what
of that
people
year.
said. And really tweaked a lot of stuff just to make it, look really good. That's something I kind of forgot to mention. Is it did look so much better than when we last saw it as well, just graphically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is nice. I didn't even think it looked that bad before, but now I've seen this, I'm just like, cool.
Even better.
Yeah, maybe we should kick up a fuss as a community more often. Got a way better looking game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that return to like the physics-based gameplay and all of that. Yeah, I'm just buzzed about it, man, because I mean, a lot of people were feeling good from a gameplay perspective after seeing what we saw last year, and it's just been a continuation of that into multiplayer. There are some elements of Halo 5 that I'm sure people that aren't too happy with this, like there's like aim down sights light, but there's also like zooming we saw, which is kind of like more of a classical Halo thing. There is sprint, but there is that return to like equipment and sort of the more sandbox style with that. Definitely interested. I'm really excited to see more of it, because we didn't actually see, like, we saw a good amount, but like not that much. Like, we don't know everything about Halo Infinite. They gave us an idea of the customization, and that looks really detailed, really good.
Yeah.
We know the announcer is back to make everyone's pants wet.
Oh, the personal AIs.
Personal
AIs,
cool. Yeah,
that was very cool.
A lovely little addition.
Great touch, I think.
Yeah.
I think that'll be. I mean, I don't know how many there'll be, and I'm sure that's the sort of thing they'll add, and they'll put those in battle passes and stuff like that.
Don't doubt
for
it,
sure.
Yeah.
And I think some of them will get really wacky and funny. No doubt we'll probably see some celebrity appearances for some of those.
Let's get Terry Crews in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Imagine the crossovers they could do, like from other Xbox game studios. That'd be
exactly.
Awesome.
That's what I'm saying. You could have like a Marcus Phoenix or something. Like
that.
That'd
be
screaming at you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
There's a lot of potential there, and I think it's a really cool touch just to add to the customization. Just when you thought you couldn't customize anymore, they're just like, hey, have a voice in your head.
Yeah, perfect. I've got two voices in my head.
Yeah, that was cool. That was very cool.
So overall, really impressed. I mean, I'm probably in agreement with me. I think it probably did steal the show, and I really wasn't expecting it to at all. I just think it looked really fucking fun, and it looked graphically quite impressive as well. Although no firm release date yet, was there?
No, they just committed to holiday 2021, didn't they? That's all they said. You'd like to think like November, something like that.
I'm gunning for December, because it's either like we have spoken previously on the show about the idea of it possibly popping up in September, but I just feel like I guess it's not impossible, but if October's looking packed, September there were some things coming. Nothing huge, so that would maybe be a good month, but it would give the team a bit less time. And whereas if we've got like Battlefield, which is already like an Xbox marketing deal, I don't think they're going to want to be cannibalizing each other's sales, so that's not going to happen. November, they've got Forza coming out, and I mean they could release Halo and Forza in the same month. I feel like the Games Pass model makes it less punishing to release games in the same month, just because people can swap and pick and choose. They don't have to spend £70 and be like, I need to play this now.
Plus,
I need to get my money's worth.
They're so different as well.
They are.
You could say the same about cannibalizing for Battlefield and Halo and stuff like that, but I don't think someone's going to be like, "Well, Forza 5's out, fuck Halo." I feel like people will find time for both, and depending on your mood is what you play and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It is hard to say. You do want to give everything their spotlight a little bit.
Yeah, it still needs breathing room. That's the thing. I mean, it's Halo. It's so. Yeah. I'm feeling December. I'm vibing for sort of December with that one, and that'd be a good time for them. There weren't any releases, I don't think, over E3 that were December.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a reason that publishers avoid December? I don't know. I mean, I feel like that'd be a good time. Maybe they anticipate, and also it gives just a couple of extra months for stock to come back. By Christmas, there's probably going to be a big push for that. So yeah, we'll see. And there was obviously flighting as well. Wasn't there beta testing for instance? You can sign up for.
Yes. So go do that.
That was nice as well. Go do that if you want to do that.
We've already done it.
I still need to do it.
Still need to.
I haven't done it yet.
Oh, I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just allows you to kind of get first come first serve on a very early build, and you can just go do it. I'm pretty sure you can just go to HaloWaypoint.com and they ask you a few questions and stuff like that. Bank details, PIN number, that sort of thing. But yeah, looks cool. I think we're all in agreement that Halo looked pretty damn sick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's looking good. Two other cool things: Diablo 2 Resurrected coming to Xbox, and also a Plague Tale Requiem, the sequel to the first Plague Tale. And there was an announcement in the extended showcase of the first Plague Tale getting a Series X and S Enhanced Edition.
Yes.
So Plague's Tale getting big ups, I think, because the makers of that are Sobo Studios. They're the guys who made Flight Sim as well. They're in like a 10-year partnership with Microsoft at the moment, so I think they're just like, let's stay chummy. And Requiem's launching straight into Games Pass, which is sick.
Yeah.
The first one was so good. So that's really exciting for me. I don't know if that got a date either, actually. Maybe that was just 2022 or no date at all. I'm not sure.
I don't even think they dropped a date.
No.
I can't remember, to be honest. If they did, I have a feeling it was just 2022. Like, I don't even think they probably would have said like a season or a time.
Yeah.
But that definitely looked pretty hype. I haven't played them, but I have watched a playthrough of the Plague Tale, the first one, because I wasn't sure if it's the sort of game I wanted to play and commit time to. And it's one of those games that's actually really good to watch a playthrough of. I feel there are some games you can do that on, and I think those sort of very story-driven narrative games are actually quite good for watching playthroughs sometimes. And yeah, it looked pretty cool. It's nice to see that get a sequel.
It's a nice new IP, and it's like French. Well, I mean, they obviously don't speak French, but it's like a French-based game. Which is quite nice. I couldn't even tell you the last culturally French game I played. No idea.
Yeah. And Diablo 2 looked sick as well. That looked very cool. That was actually one of our friends' biggest hype moments, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when we all saw the 8-player co-op option.
Yeah.
We all kind of creamed a little bit. It looks cool, man. We love Diablo 3. Huge fans of Diablo 3. And this looked pretty good. Like, graphically, it looked very, very nice. Some animations were a bit jank and stuff like that, but you could say that going back to playing Diablo 3 as well, sometimes you're just doing weird stabby animations and lightning flies everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, if it's essentially just more Diablo, I'm kind of okay with that. And the 8-player co-op is obviously really, really welcome as well. It could definitely be a lot of fun. I know Diablo 2, it does have it's considered one of the greats in terms of the looter genre. A lot of people consider it to be better than Diablo 3, even with all the Diablo 3 updates.
Weird that, because I definitely had a glimpse at the I definitely had a glimpse at the look of the skill trees on Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, there was only like 8 squares there. There really wasn't that many.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're missing something there. It might be. It might just work a bit differently.
Yeah, I guess it will. But yeah, Diablo 3, there was a lot to do.
Plus, the skill trees were never really the big part of Diablo, was it? It was kind of the loot.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because essentially, the stuff that you were just unlocking in Diablo 3 was just, here's access to your next skill, here's access to your next skill, when it was just, that was kind of it.
Yeah, but they did alter the skill. You had 3 variants per skill, and they altered the skill, and then obviously the weapons went into those... into all those alternate skills and stuff like that, and that's obviously how you made the build.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely did look pretty fun. And that's definitely something we'll be playing. The Diablo 2. So that looked pretty damn cool.
Yeah, sorry for giggling there. We just have we have the showcase running in the background. And Forza Horizon came up and my fucking jaw was on the floor because I just forgot how good it looked. The Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, that did look absolutely amazing. Yeah, his jaw was that she just dropped it, distracted me a little bit.
That's ridiculous. Anyway, we'll get around to that, but yeah. Cool. So I thought those were two really nice announcements. We had, again, all Games Pass. Diablo 2 wasn't actually. It was one of the three that wasn't Games Pass, which doesn't surprise me because it's Blizzard, isn't it? Yeah. So, Slime Rancher 2. The first one was it was a Games Pass hit, so that's cool as well. Atomic Heart, that was a Games Pass announcement, which was I had no idea about.
Looks cool, man.
I don't even know what it is still. Is it like a first-person shooter?
It's an RPG first-person shooter. I believe it's RPG. That looks great. Like we saw that quite a while ago, and it's just been dead silent. And I have to admit, I did not think we'd see that again. And I feel like you haven't gone back and watched the trailer. I feel like you should, because there was some pretty cool stuff in there. It definitely looks like a really cool game. It's one of those ones which is quite hard to see it's quite hard to tell how well it will do. But it definitely has some potential to it. It looks wacky and cool and post-apocalyptic and I was quite happy to see a trailer from that and to know it still existed. So that was cool. Yeah,
for sure.
Very nice.
We also had, in the lieu of other sort of AAA third-party games, Far Cry 6. Although Far Cry 6 seemed to make an appearance at every fucking show.
Yeah, it was everywhere. It's crammed down our damn throats.
Which I think they really made a mistake with, because it just was getting a bit fatiguing.
It became a bit memey. Literally, the whole internet was just like, Far Cry 6 was at every single bloody stage.
Spoiled it a bit as well, because I think it looks quite good. I'd like to see sort of a bit more of it. I think Giancarlo Esposito is a fucking fantastic actor, so I don't doubt that part of it is going to be really good, but I would like to just see a bit more, because we just saw the same trailer like 7 times over E3. I feel so I don't know, it feels a bit weird to be asking for more when I saw so much of it, but I think it looks good. I don't know if I'd be buying it. That's obviously one of the few that's not coming straight to Games Pass, so for me, that's someone who hasn't played Far Cry since 4. That's kind of a wait and see. If it does well, I would be interested.
Yeah.
If it has co-op, does it have co-op? I don't know.
I don't know.
Those games live and die by co-op for us.
Yeah, for us. Yeah. I kind of know what you mean. I don't see any parallel universe where I'm ever dropping a price tag on that game. And that doesn't mean say it looks bad. I just think there's so much else
you'd rather be playing
that's just fucking getting flung right into Games Pass.
Yeah, that's fair,
that's kind of bottom of my barrel. Even if we were paying for these games that are coming to Games Pass, it's still kind of bottom of my barrel. So yeah, and it looks fine. It kind of just looks like more Far Cry with a really cool villain. It's just Far Cry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing in those trailers absolutely blew me away. But yeah, solid game.
I agree. We also had the Grounded Shroom and Doom update, which is good. I'm glad to see Grounded still getting support. It's nice, I think, because this is something that I don't think Obsidian would have been able to be pushing as much as they could if they now weren't part of Xbox. It's kind of like there's like 15 people working on it or something, and it's getting loads of updates, and it has a solid community. It was quite popular on Steam for a while when it got its when it came out for its 1.0. And it's just fun. I always quite enjoy seeing the trailers because it's just quite creative when they put stuff in, and obviously because you're tiny, and just how that interacts with everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll hop back on it one day, but it's I'm glad to see it still going.
Yeah.
We also got an Among Us 15-player lobbies update. I don't know if that came with a release date for consoles. We all know it's coming. We all know it's going to be on Games Pass.
Yeah.
But again, still nice to see.
Cool, fun party game. Nice.
Yeah. There was that update for that sort of Octopath Traveler looking game, which was Are You Den Chronicles, and then they showed the one which was coming in 2023, and then gave you a 5-second snippet of the one that's coming in 2022, but nobody knows what the difference is between the two.
But they showed more of the one that's coming later,
yeah,
and less of the one that's coming soon. And yeah, I don't know. I still don't know.
I mean, the game looks kind of cool. Yeah,
it looked cool. Had some very nice art style and graphics, and yeah, the battle styles were almost like it was quite weird the dimension they chose for the battle styles, because it's almost like 2D, 3D. It's in between both. You're like kind of behind your 2D characters as they like fight something 3-dimensional in front of them. Yeah, it's weird, and it looked really cool. But yeah, very confusing, and I don't know which one I buy or not buy.
Games Pass.
Yeah, it's Games Pass, I guess. So which one I download first?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then a couple of big. I don't want to say big, but a couple of big boys. Yeah, one of them was Replaced, which was that kind of pixel art side scroller, and a lot of people are kind of really vibing with that because it looks like The Last Night, which was revealed a couple of years ago, which was this kind of cyberpunk like pixel art side scroller, which looked amazing, but we've heard nothing about, and it's still in development, but it's just kind of been silent. And Replaced looked really similar to this. You know, there was a lot of obvious comparisons being drawn. But there, like the one thing in particular on it was like the animation work. Like towards the end, there was like a John Wick-esque fight scene where he was like using melee combat, and I think that probably was just a cutscene, but it still was an absolute like visual feast. Like,
it looked awesome.
Yeah,
looked very, very cool.
So I'm not surprised. You know, hopefully it's nice when games like that get a big kind of.
Platform.
Yeah, they get a big platform, but they get a big reception, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, a lot of people are like, whoa, what was that? So yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that did look cool. And again, I'm not sure of release date or anything.
No.
I can't actually remember.
I think it's 2022, but yeah. Yeah. And then sort of sort of more parallel to Cyberpunk, we had the Ascent, and we've heard about the Ascent for a while. We heard about this first back in the May showcase last year, so before last year's Xbox conference. The Ascent is that Cyberpunk sort of action RPG, a bit twin-stick shootery, that looks really good. The more I see of it, the more I'm kind of interested in that. Like graphically, it looks really good. It's up to 4-player co-op. There are like abilities. There's loot. I mean, yeah, I've been yapping on about this for a while, haven't I? But we only saw a bit more this time. So what do you think about the Ascent?
Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, we've seen some more gameplay of it over this weekend, obviously. Some stuff that was older as well that I hadn't seen prior to that, just from the sort of hype of it. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm still a little bit unsure about it, to be honest. Really cool idea. I think it looks really nice, and the idea of having like a full-blown RPG sort of in almost like a twin-stick shooter kind of way is like, you don't really see that too often. Those games almost come out quite half-baked sometimes, and they're not very long. They're not like full-scale RPGs done in that sort of format and that sort of style. We haven't had a glimpse at any of like the skill trees and how progression works or anything like that so much. So I think once I see that, that might sway my decision a little bit more. A cover mechanic and that sort of thing is kind of cool as well. Mm-hmm. It looks okay, but for me, the shooting, which is obviously quite a main element of it, is still just twin sticky and a bit arcadey. I don't think it's going to feel that great, and if that is a main aspect of combat, it can be a little bit worrying. But the set of it, where it's set and all that sort of stuff, it looks cool.
Well, the way I think of it is that, like, if you think about what Diablo is and how that engages you, you're essentially just pushing buttons in a direction. At least with this, there's an element of aiming and firing. Because there were times where he was firing, like aiming without firing, so I'm assuming RT is still fire. So it's not just pushing a direction and the gun goes off. And like there was reloading, so it's not just endless firing like usual twin-stick shooters are. So, I kind of just think of it that way. Because I think you can watch that and be like, this doesn't look like it's going to be engaging. But I just feel like if I find Diablo engaging, which is that but less, I'm going to find this engaging because it's that, but I actually have to aim and use cover and stuff. But I think it looks really good overall, but I can understand why you would watch it and be like, oh, this twin stick shooters are a bit dated. I understand that.
But yeah, it does it cool. And yeah, I'd like to see more of it, but I'm reserving my full judgment for it. But I mean, it's out really soon, isn't it? It's out like next month. I think it's like July 20th or something.
Yeah, July, yeah. So yeah, it is out soon.
So yeah, and obviously Games Pass. So
I know how to try.
Exactly. It's something I'll definitely play. Looks cool. Looks great.
Into the closing sort of 15 minutes of the show, we had sort of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 knockout. We had kind of Age of Empires, we had an Outer Worlds 2 announcement, we had a Flight Simulator trailer and a final date for release on console. We had Forza Horizon 5 official announced trailer, which is obviously releasing in just 5 months in November. Yeah. And then we had a one more thing moment with Redfall, which was Arkane's new game. So that was pretty great. Obviously, Age of Empires... PC only at the moment. I was kind of hoping for a console announcement.
Screaming at the TV, might I add?
Just quietly sort of thinking about it, not really saying much, not really letting it known that I want that, but I was thinking about it,
Yeah.
So, and I in my head, they've said somewhere that is something they're going to do. They just don't. It's not priority, and I feel like they have said that, but I can't give you a source, unfortunately. But I mean, it looks cool. I'm glad there's another Age of Empires being made. It's obviously a real pillar IP that I think should be a knockout, like an easy knockout for Xbox as a platform, as PC as well. The Outer Worlds 2 was arguably the best trailer of E3.
Oh yeah, it was a great trailer.
even as a CGI one.
Yeah, just one from the fact that no one was expecting it.
No,
awesome. Yeah. Like a sequel to a really cool game, hopefully more of a budget and more of a focus on it. That game could be really, really cool, and it could sort of branch out into its own sort of area, because we were saying it needs to identify itself a little bit different than just a wacky Fallout.
Yeah.
So hopefully it will do that, and just the fact that the trailer was hilarious. And it wasn't taking itself seriously.
There will be lens flare.
Yeah, exactly. It's just really cool and really funny and unexpected. That was actually a highlight of the show for me, to be honest, even though it was literally just like a 40-second trailer. It was just cool.
I know the trailer was done really well, but this is what we were saying earlier of like there was quite a few good announcements in Contraband, in like announcements that nobody expected or knew of, that we didn't know of. Contraband, Redfall, and Outer Worlds 2. Obviously they're all CGI, but those are 3 new exclusives that just got announced, kind of thing. Do you know? So it is good content. It's just like, wish I saw more in a good way. There was plenty to feast on in the show, but yeah, definitely a funny trailer. I think Obsidian are really good with that, and they're very self-aware.
Yeah,
the Grounded team are the same with their marketing. Flight Sim, another first-party game coming to Games Pass in a few months. That's Series X only as well.
Yeah.
Series X and S, sorry. Yeah, looks absolutely gorgeous. It's obviously a simulator. It has a niche player base.
I'll give it a go.
As a Games Pass, as a graphical showcase, here it is. Like, literally here it is. Did you hear? This is how taxing the game is. It runs at 30 frames. It doesn't have a higher option.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because of how taxing the game is. And thankfully, a Flight Sim isn't a game where you're really relying on frames that much.
Yeah.
We're not talking like a shooter or a game with any element of combat. So there's no biggie for me, I don't think. But I'll definitely boot it up because I just want to see how pretty everything looks.
Yeah, and it does look pretty.
It's a screenshot
from what we've seen.
Yeah, it's a screenshot generator, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely something you want to take pictures and make that your background. We used to do that with Sea of Thieves. I guess that'll Flight Sim will probably be our new background generator.
Yeah, absolutely.
But really cool. I'm not much of a sim guy myself, but I'll definitely hop on just to see just how fucking great it looks.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's nice that they did bother bringing that to console. That kind of gives me hope that they will bring Age of Empires to console, like with now Gears Tactics with Flight Simulator. They've committed to sort of porting it over, like doing it PC first but bringing it over afterwards. That's fine if that's what you need to do. I understand that they want to build sort of a community on PC, and if that means you can't co-develop these games, fine. That's fine. And then Forza Horizon 5, obviously, we had suspected, we've spoken about it in previous episodes, we weren't the only ones to speak about it, that it's probably Mexico, and to be launching as soon as it did was kind of a bit of a bomb drop. It's going to be coming out just like the end of the year, November, like just casually, it was November 9th or something. And the game looked absolutely ridiculous. It's one of those cross-gen games that is, I think Phil said beforehand, it's built for next gen from the ground up, and then it will be scaled back for the Xbox One.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can tell, man. You watch that on a 4K screen, and it's absurd.
Yeah. There were some points where we were just convinced it was just like satellite footage, weren't we? And then cars drove by on it, and we were like, oh,
right,
that's the game.
Yeah.
It looked just insane, just absolutely jaw dropping. I mean, we got back and played some Forza Horizon 4 as well recently, and that game still looks incredible.
Yeah.
Like even now, and it just, oh god, Forza 5 is going to look so good. And I do like those games as well, and I feel like I just need to give them a little bit more of my time and a bit more of a chance.
I agree,
because they are super fun, and we've had a lot of fun over the last. We've probably done a solid few hours, 4 hours on it or something.
Yeah,
there's always stuff to do.
There's so much to do. They're so packed, and they're just so eventful. They just feel quite.
Yeah, it's exciting yet chill. They've somehow struck a really nice balance of you can play it on, leaning back on your sofa and just chilling out. But it's also you're focusing and you are always doing something. It's not just like, I don't know. It's weird, but they are good.
And
this looks amazing.
Yeah, they showed off sort of a very small slice of like a single player campaign, because I think in Forza Horizon 4 you're just kind of, the campaign is just an excuse to sort of take you round the different events. It's like what was it called, like the Forza-thon or something.
Festival,
yeah, that's right. And it's just like, go and do this, go and get loads of it's not renown, influence, and that worked absolutely fine, because the map is crammed with stuff to do, not just races, stunt drives and some shit like hunts. There's all sorts of fun stuff. But in this one, so they showed off a little bit of single player, like very, very small slice where they were going through some like Mayan architecture, which looked really fun. I was thinking the other day, it'd be fun if you were like, if for one game you were like an archaeologist, depending on where they set the game, and you just drove around. They sort of gave you different like nice cars, so like literally just drive around to different like landmarks, and you like race from one to the other, and then make up various reasons, get there before the other journalists get there, that sort of shit. Just silly shit like that. So that was cool. They obviously showed off sort of playing multiplayer, the shared world elements that Forza Horizon really excel at. And then they showed the sort of custom games, Forge kind of thing.
Forge in Horizon, confirmed.
Yeah, they had their own name for it, but we just keep calling it Forge.
I forgot what it was called, actually. But yeah, it's essentially just Forge for Forza Horizon, and I really liked that. I thought that was fucking insane. And I think you can make some really, really fun and cool stuff with that.
Definitely.
That was probably, obviously the graphical increase in it looking amazing. But I think apart from that, that was by far the best new addition to the game, what they're adding, for me at least.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it looks really cool, man. Definitely excited to give it a go. Again, Games Pass, I will for sure be giving it a go. Maybe I could try and give this one a bit more of a go. I'll just have to not buy any battle passes in that month, and then I'll be alright.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had Philly Spencer fucking looking jacked with his Xbox 2020 shirt.
Yeah.
And he walked us through. It was this was also a bit of a power move as well. He came out and he was like flexing, like properly like flexing up his biceps, and he was like, today we've showed you loads of exclusives. Starfield is exclusive, and we've got Doom, we've got Elder Scrolls 6. Proper on roids. And he just kind of walked us through all the stuff that he showed, Outer Worlds 2, and he also spoke about stuff that's going to be coming. And it's just a good like way to sort of summarize, like, holy shit, like, look how much we've shown you this year, but also last year with Fable, Avowed, Perfect Dark, Everwild, blah, blah, blah. And also stuff that's to come. And then obviously at that point of the show, we were pretty wasted and we were acting like animals, and we were just slapping our thighs, shouting one more thing. We were like, one more thing.
And it always is. And it's always one more thing.
I'm glad they started doing that, because they never used to. It's only like last year that I feel like they finally got it in their heads. They're like, people want that. Like, it's just so much fun. And always put something in there that no one expects, because then you leave on that kind of, man, that was so cool. Like, even if it was a bad show, you kind of, it's that kind of recency bias. And that recency bias, obviously, in this case, was a CGI trailer for Arkane's new open world immersive first-person shooter sim with co-op, Redfall. And this was the vampire game we've been speaking about. Now, there has been a bit of like mixed reception for this online. Like, what were kind of your thoughts on Redfall to close the show out?
I thought it was a great way to close the show out. I thought it was a really hype moment. And I think it was a bit more hype for us because we were expecting it as well. Like, we were just like, let's just see it. We know it exists. Let's see it. So I guess it probably would have been more hype for people who just didn't know about it full stop. But yeah, I thought it was a really great way to close the show. I'm not surprised we didn't see any gameplay, obviously.
2022, though.
Yeah, I was surprised to see a 22 launch window, to be fair. And yeah, it looked great. I mean, it did fall into the category I was talking about earlier, where I kind of had to look up the game to figure out exactly what it was. But the overall, the overall premise of everything and how it was presented did look really cool, and it just looked so arcane, didn't it? It just looked like a game they would make, and they're clearly. It's clearly a bit of a passion project for them.
I think the thing is, I think some of it is, but some of it isn't. And I think so. Like a lot of the reception I've read online has the stuff that is mixed is that it wasn't what people were expecting from Arcane at all. You know, okay. I think the trailer gave off some energy that was kind of like, you know, quite marvelly, quite quippy. You know, and now it's annoying because nowadays all anybody associates with. Which is what I call like good character writing, by the way, when characters actually speak to each other and engage, because you never used to sort of, I mean, that doesn't always work out well, but people just kind of associate that with like Fortnite, and it's just weird. It's just like, you know, characters can speak without being gruff and like 1,000-yard stare, like, oh, I've seen things, and like that is okay. Like, we can have like positive characters instead of jaded old ones like ex-vets. So there was like an element of people who had either heard rumours of a vampire game from Arcane or hadn't heard anything that saw it and were like, this is what I was expecting from Arcane. So, you know, I think it was okay for us because we, you know, as I've said on the show today, like, we play a lot of co-op games, and also I trust Arcane with my life.
Yeah.
And they made it very clear this game can be played solo or co-op. So people a lot of the time, especially online, see co-op and they're like, oh god, where's my next third-person action-adventure dark fantasy game? So I think a lot of people were like, oh, you know, I was expecting like a Vampire Dishonored, and we said the same thing in previous episodes. That is kind of what we were expecting when we heard rumours of vampires. So it was a bit against what I expected, but for me, it was in a really positive way. Like,
yeah, I think from what we enjoy games, I think is actually I prefer something like this over a Vampire Dishonored personally.
Yeah.
But obviously, yeah, we have different taste in games, but
yeah. And I think I need people to remember, like, because a lot of people were like, oh, how many like Left 4 Dead sort of games are we going to see? You know, there was like Back 4 Blood. There was the Anacrusis, which isn't actually on here, but maybe that was.
I don't think Anacrusis was actually at the show. No, that was at the extended showcase. They just brought Anacrusis on to show some stuff. Okay. It wasn't on the E3 stage, no.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few games like that. I mean, if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. Where it's like, you know, 4 players against a horde of something.
Yeah,
but this wasn't that. This is an open world immersive sim that's solo or co-op, and you can tell. And this is what I mean. So, like, I think at face value, people saw the game. They're like, characters being quippy, not a super dark tone for the boys.
Yeah,
there, you know, it's a bit lighthearted, but also a bit dark. And we're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted from Arcane. You know, this is, bearing in mind, you know, this is a team who made Dishonored 1, Dishonored 2, and Prey. Like, these are all quite take themselves very seriously. Quite heavy games, and that's absolutely not a problem, obviously. So I can see where that expectation came in, but when you look at kind of the gameplay elements that they're hinting at there's lots of like, I get the idea that it's lots of like sandboxy multiplayer gameplay, essentially. You know, there are characters like using lifts, there were some magic elements to it, there were some wacky guns that did like, there was like freezing stuff.
Yeah.
And the world looks really cool as well. I read a bit about it, and the vampires were made from an experiment gone wrong, kind of thing. So it's not like just vampires. It's kind of like and there's like people have joined them because they've sort of found it futile. So that's why there's like humans like with guns with them, sort of thing. So yeah. for me, I think that's really exciting. I can see why people maybe that kind of didn't hit their expectations, and I think had they seen some gameplay, they'd have probably been like, "Oh, fair enough," or they would have been like, "Looks really good, but actually still not for me." Yeah. Looks good, but co-op, maybe this sort of co-op isn't for me. Even if you can play it solo, whatever.
I can see why it had a little bit of mixed reception. In that regard, okay, that makes sense.
But it's just cool. For us, but basically, fuck you, you're wrong. Your opinion is wrong.
This is our podcast. Go away.
So it's just so I'm wondering if had they swapped Redfall and Forza Horizon 5, even though arguably people were expecting Forza Horizon 5 a bit more, if that had a bit more of a punch. We saw Redfall, exclusive to Xbox, coming 2022, Arcane game. Cool, okay, we didn't see gameplay, but that's fine. Then Horizon comes in, wow, big great gameplay showcase, wow, out in 5 months. I wonder if that had a bit more of an impact, even if it was a bit more expected, even though a lot of people knew about Omen.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I could see that for a lot of people, the general audience probably enjoying it that way round a little bit more.
Yeah. But then there is an element of you lose kind of that marrying of Xbox and Bethesda a bit because they wanted to bookend the show with Starfield and Redfall.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
I can't blame them for the way that they did it. Worked for me. I'm definitely excited to see more, but this catalogue of games that are upcoming is growing and growing and growing. And it's such a nice variety. I've said today about the co-op. There's been a few co-op games which has been awesome. So yeah, I liked how they ended that, and I think it looks really cool. I do think some of the humour fell a bit flat in the trailer, but whatever. Whatever. It is one of those gameplay things. Overall, I like the tone. I like the hints that the trailer gave to me about the gameplay. I like the world looks really interesting and cool. And the way it ended, there was a 6-armed being pulling an eclipse over. I think that's the basis of it. Actually, they've been drawing a permanent eclipse over the city of Redfall in Massachusetts. Yeah. And that's what's happening with the vampires, so yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool premise, for sure. Yeah. That was basically Xbox's E3, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Which was kind of bonkers. There was loads. And
there was a lot of first party stuff as well. There was, and whether you consider it fringe or already announced, whatever, that's not kind of unimportant. But I'm just, having through the list now, we've got Starfield, Psychonauts 2,
S.T.A.L.K.E.R,
Contraband, not first buy.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Halo, Grounded, Age of Empires, Outer Worlds 2, Flight Simulator, Forza Horizon 5, Redfall. Yeah, that's I'm talking 7 or 8 games. Yeah. Some were new and just announced. Some had gameplay. Some didn't. So it's hard to really heavily criticise that because it's pretty good overall. Especially when really all the stuff we saw last year, we saw none of that this year.
Yeah,
the fact that they had enough to just show an entire new bulk of stuff.
That is quite funny actually when you think about it.
Really,
I haven't thought about that. Yeah.
Other than maybe Flight Sim, I guess. I mean, we've seen Age of Empires before. I guess Grounded. And Sea of Thieves, I guess I didn't mention either. But yeah, in terms of the new announcements, it's just entirely new stuff. I guess I wanted to, as we sort of come towards the end then, was sort of some of the bits and bobs in the extended showcase. And obviously we saw a developer update on Hellblade 2. And you'll know if you've seen any of our previous episodes that I am hugely anticipating that game. I didn't expect to see it at the show. I'm glad we got a little bit of an update in the extended showcase. That was more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
What did you think about the dev diary?
What, for Hellblade specifically?
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. They showed a lot of sort of insight into what they have been doing, haven't they? All the sort of footage they've been gathering over, where is it, Iceland and all that sort of stuff, and then some glimpses into the development and some of the programs they're using. You got to saw how they're making the models, the mocap, all that sort of stuff. There were some snippets of some CGI stuff in there. There was no gameplay.
I think there were some snippets of like engine stuff,
some in-engine stuff,
which I genuinely like. We're confused because we couldn't tell if it was or wasn't, because it looks like photorealistic. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was nice to see more. We got an idea of like how far along the game is, didn't we? And it was like they're now at the moment they're currently building out a slice of the gameplay, so they're building this vertical slice. And they tweeted, because a lot of people were confused and were like, does that mean like what the game's miles off? And I can't remember the exact thing that they said. I should probably have a look actually. But it was like they're on stage like 4 out of 6 in terms of the usual development timeline. Like they're in actual production, and then the next stage is polish and balance, and then the final stage is release. So it's not
stupid far, but I think it'll be 2023.
I think, and I think based on what we've said in previous episodes, that's probably in line with it. You know, we've said they've been held up on Unreal Engine 5 a bit. COVID's hit them really hard because they do a lot of scanning, like real stuff into the game, and they do a lot of heavy mocap. So yeah, I think I'm probably in agreement. I think we see it next year.
Yeah,
for 2023.
Yeah,
if they're building out gameplay, then there's going to be gameplay ready to show next year.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that was.
But it was cool. It was nice to just be like, we're still here. You know, this game is still a big deal and a huge passion project for us, and we know you guys want it.
Yeah.
So that was basically what it is, and just wait patiently. We're making the game you want, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it was nice to see. It was a nice touch for sure.
Yeah, it was a cool. And I will give praise to the team at Xbox as well for that extended showcase, because it was a really nice way. Yeah, it was just a really nice way to segregate that kind of here's unfiltered gameplay for the main showcase. Most people are going to watch this. Here's the extended with like a tiny few announcements. I think they announced. Design labs were coming back as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
For the extended showcase. And here's some devs talking about some shit as well. It's like 2 hours long. It was hosted by obviously Paris Lilly, he's over at the Kind of Funny Xcast as well, which was a nice way to bring the community in. It was just nice to sit down and watch that as well a few days later after the dust had kind of settled on everything.
Yeah.
And I think they should kind of lean into that so that we don't have to sit through, have the pace taken off the show by long developer talks.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. I mean, props for that, really.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a really cool sort of after show, and they dove into quite a lot of stuff in a lot of detail. That's kind of what sold me pretty convincingly on Psychonauts 2. Was watching that.
Yeah,
they
spoke loads about it, didn't they?
They spoke loads about that, and sort of like what the game will entail story wise, and what he did in the previous game, which obviously we never played.
Yeah.
And he kind of just set everything out, laid everything out on the table. And yeah, that's kind of what swayed me probably the most to say that I'm quite looking forward to Psychonauts 2 now.
Yeah.
So, it obviously did its job. It was a good idea to do an after show thing like that, because if it sold me on something, it probably sold other people, and it was cool.
Awesome. I mean, that's pretty much our kind of take on the whole show and our walkthrough. It's been quite an eventful week, sort of reading all the comments, and especially seeing such positive reception towards an Xbox E3, because I feel like that hasn't happened in such a long time.
Not for a while.
It's been generally, a lot of people have been really, really happy with it, and some people have been. Was that your bag?
That was my bag. Let's see if the
picked
mic
up on the
picked
mic.
that up.
It was more like a crunch. It wasn't even like a normal crack. So it's just nice to see that sort of happening. I think we're finally at that point where we've been speaking about it for months, where Xbox is like the ball. Things are in motion that cannot be undone, to quote Gandalf. So that we're moving towards that, especially as we come towards the end of the year, and we kind of look forward to continuing to do the podcast. I mean, it's going to be. I'm not going to be able to speak about any like rumors or leaks. Really, this is going to be. I guess we might just have to talk or something.
Yeah, we might have to delve a little bit more into our personal lives. No, thank you. It's cool. It was a really good E3. It's really good Xbox E3. I think the overall E3 was a bit lukewarm.
Yeah, everything was definitely one. And I guess as well, just to like by comparison, like we obviously, if you have a look at our channel, the last 2 videos we did were reaction to the previous showcases, and this one was leagues better than both of them.
Yes, yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh, it was definitely better than
definitely better than last year.
Yeah,
2013 was close, I would say, but in terms of from a conference standpoint, I just like seeing games, man. I just like game after game. Even though 2013 was maybe a bit better in terms of a lot on like the content side, more like new announcements, lots of gameplay for first party stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we probably won't do a reaction video to this one. I don't see the point. We've kind of spoken about it.
We talked about everything for an hour, for like an hour and a half now.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe next year. We might do it next year before the next showcase.
Yeah, maybe.
But on that, anything to end with?
Apart from that, it was a good E3. And I hope everyone listening had a lovely E3 as well.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope you got what you asked for.
yeah. Whatever you tuned in for.
It's game of Christmas.
I hope you didn't just tune in for Gearbox because you would have been let down. But we won't talk about that. Whichever you are watching, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're probably Xbox boys like us. But yeah. I hope everyone had a good E3.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll see you sort of next week. Really, we're sort of getting back to sort of our regular routines because we've been sort of off work for this week, and so we'll try and get back to our sort of steady cadence of something of an episode per week. As I say, we'll have probably a bit less of a focus. A bit less of a focus on
E3.
On just like general sort of insider stuff because there'll be so much less of it. So yeah, we look forward to speaking to you all in the new sort of year of Xbox in the second coming.
Indeed.
Wicked. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll speak to you later.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.